coming, and I want to tell you how this actually got to where it is today, to where we're all standing out here trying to get some justice and trying to get some attention for not only what's happening to my brother, who's right now in jail with a broken leg from being ran over by the police, but also what happened to me, what happened to my 14-year-old niece and my other brother. So the police were called on a domestic disturbance call, and I want you to know right now I do not condone domestic violence at all. All right? So I come home from work and they have my house surrounded, and they have my brother outside interrogating him. And one of the police officers says that they know that Lavan Yankton fled the scene. Okay? So right at that moment I say, well, why are you in the house? If you know the police have, if you know that the person you're looking for has already fled the scene, why are you in the house? Before he could answer me, another officer marched my niece out, my 14-year-old niece, out of the house in these boy shorts underwear, and so that caught my attention. And I told that officer, Gregory Cody, who is now forced to resign for sexual assault charges that are unrelated to what happened to us. I told that officer, I said, what you're doing is unlawful. You cannot march my 14-year-old niece out of the house in her underwear to interrogate her for a crime that she is not involved in. Okay? The officer told me that I was interfering with an investigation and that he would arrest me if I didn't shut up and go away. And I told him what he was doing is unlawful, and I wanted to know who authorized him to go inside my house. Okay? I told him, I own this house, I live here, this is my family's property. Why are you inside the house if you know that my brother's not there? He told me, that's it, you're under arrest. Okay? Luckily, I had called someone who was a non-native, who was a white woman, and I said, hey, Susan, will you come over to my house? It's all white male officers, and I'm nervous about what will happen when I walk up to the house. By the time she showed up, they had cuffs on me, and they had me facing A Street. They had my niece outside in these boy short underwear, calling her a liar because she told them she didn't know where Lavan was. Also calling my other brother a liar because he was telling him he didn't know what was going on. And they kept badgering him until he actually would tell them what they wanted to hear. Okay? I filed a civil lawsuit against the Lincoln Police Department, against Gregory Cody and Aaron Peth. Aaron Peth is the officer who put the cuffs on me super tight, causing really severe indentions in both of my wrists. We were able to take pictures immediately after the cuffs were taken off of me, and I was able to turn my phone on, and I asked Aaron Peth, I said, why did you tell me that my brother was not there? Why were you in the house? Who authorized you to go in the house? He said, no, we had exigent circumstances to go in the house because we thought he might have been there. I said, no, you specifically told me that he fled the scene. And I have it on recording where he says, no, I apologize, I must have misspoken. Okay? So I have evidence. I have pictures, I have evidence. I have evidence that it's my home, but they're trying to get my case thrown out of civil court by technicalities because I had to file this myself. I couldn't find any help. All right? Well, my brother called home one day, and I got on the phone with him, and I said, hey, you need to turn yourself in because I filed a civil lawsuit against the city, and I'm afraid that when they catch you, they might try to hurt you or they might try to kill you. Well, on Friday, they found my brother in an alley, and he took off running, okay? And yes, that's wrong. He shouldn't run. He shouldn't be arguing and fighting with his girlfriend. These are all things that are wrong, and you're not supposed to do those. But even though that those are wrong, a police officer does not have the right to run you down with his car, okay? And why wasn't his dash cam on? Why isn't, with all these incidences that happened to my family, why isn't there any footage? You know, why isn't there anything documenting what happened? If I'm lying, prove it. Because I have evidence to show that I am not, all right? Now my brother's in jail right now. They had to operate on his leg. 2 hours after they done with the operation, they took him to jail, all right? They didn't give him any time for rehabilitation. We have the nurses on camera. We recorded them as well, telling us that he would get proper rehabilitation care and that he would get the proper medication and antibiotics he needs to make sure he doesn't get an infection. Well, we just went to visit him yesterday and he still hasn't gotten any antibiotics. He has no painkillers. His leg is starting to become infected, and all they're giving him is they're issuing him generic Tylenol, the same thing they'll give any other inmate that has a headache in jail, okay? So as of right now, I'm challenging the news because I've seen the story that came out of 1011 News. I've seen the story that came off of Channel 8 News, and both stories are just police statements, and they say that a man with 3 warrants, one for domestic assault, tried to run from the police, collided into a police car, and injured his leg. Well, having your leg ran over and crushed in 3 places is not the same thing as colliding with a police car and injuring your leg, okay? So I am challenging 1011 News, and I'm challenging Channel 8 News to do a more complete story, all right? You don't have to tell anything on my behalf or anything to try to make us look better, but you need to tell a more complete story of what really happened, because if you give a propaganda statement, you are not giving real news, all right? And so that's my challenge. I want to also thank Lincoln Journal-Star, because they gave a more complete story, and it didn't give my brother any favor in the story, but it did say that the chief of police did admit that my brother was ran over, even though they said it was an accident. So when the chief of police told the story, it changed a little bit. It went from him running and colliding into a car to him sliding up under the car because he was on gravel, and he slid up under the wheel, and then the wheel ran over him. Well, that's bogus too, okay? I'm not a detective or a forensic scientist, but you don't just slide up under a wheel. You have to get run over because the car is going at a certain speed to catch up to you and then run you over without stopping, all right? And that's what's important here, is that the truth comes out. And just so you all know, this isn't just about my 14-year-old niece or my brother or my other brother who was just ran over, or me who was arrested for telling people that this was unlawful. This is also about Zachary Bearhills, okay? This is also about Micah Taylor. This is also about Ho Chunk Incorporated. You know, this is also about the 5 murders in White Clay. Like, why does this stuff keep happening to my people? All right? We deserve dignity too. We deserve justice too. We deserve to be treated fairly. All right? If we do something wrong, let the system take its course, but you're not the executioner if you're the police officer, okay? That's what I want. I want justice. I want this to be looked into, and I want the media to actually give a more complete story about what's happening. Because the propaganda story that was released by 1011 News and Channel 8 News doesn't do justice, not just to my family, but to the mainstream population who are the ones watching these stories and not getting what's actually happening, okay? And so I'm glad everybody's here, because, you know, we had invited 1011 News, and we had invited Channel 8 News. Lincoln Journal-Star showed up, Indians.com showed up, but 1011 News, are you here? Channel 8 News, are you here? No? Well, maybe we could have some people call them. Maybe you can call them and tell them that there's a protest going on, a rally going on out in front of the courthouse, and they're asking specifically where is 1011. They're asking specifically where is Channel 8. You know, why isn't anybody covering the fact that there was a civil lawsuit? You know, why aren't they looking into the evidence that I put in that lawsuit? Because there's a recording. You know, you don't have to take my word for it. There's pictures. You don't have to take my word for it. There's documents, all right? But we're supposed to take the word of the police that what they did was lawful, when both police officers that mishandled my whole family and abused them have been forced to resign, and one of them is facing sexual assault criminal charges right now. How is that? Okay? And so that's where we're at right now. We're trying to get awareness. We're trying to show that this is a pattern that needs to stop. Where are the Native police officers? All right? So we need more diversity in the police force here in Lincoln, Nebraska, and in Nebraska in general. Okay? We do have a population that should be considered, that should be able to actually join into the force and be developed into officers as well. Not so that they show us any favoritism, but just so we can get a little bit of dignity, and maybe there could be some cultural sensitivity across lines, police lines, because some of their peers are actually from our community. You know, this is important. I don't want people talking badly about the police. I want to integrate into the police force our own community. You know, that way when we do need them to protect and serve that I can look and see a familiar face instead of them looking at me as a foreigner, even though this is the country that I originated from, my people originated from. All right? We're all the same, and we all should be united. That's what's important right now. You know, when you tell a story on the news, you should be telling the whole story, not just the version that was fed to you. Would you like to speak? I have there's another lady here who is also involved with Gregory Cody, and her story never came out, okay? Gregory Cody is right now facing charges of sexual assault, but he has a pattern of behavior, okay? When he took my 14-year-old niece out of the house in her underwear, that's because he's desensitized to the sexuality of a woman, all right? And he feels that he has power over them. And I don't know if it has to do with his badge or just with his mental state or what, but he doesn't have that right. That's why he's no longer a police officer. But at the same time, I want justice for my niece, all right? Because I felt helpless at that time. Because what could I do? What could I do with a bunch of men with guns, all right? What can I do when they manhandle my niece or they manhandle me and they have guns and they can kill me? That's that abuse of power. That's that authority that there's nothing you can do against but die if you do the wrong move or if you get too aggressive.
Hi, my name is Jasmine. I'm 25 years old. My dad is East African. My mom is Rosebud Sioux. I also had an encounter with Officer Greg Cody that never got shared. So basically, they got a call of a suicidal person. That suicidal person was supposedly me. I was asleep in my house. They walked into my house, 2 officers, a female police officer, and Officer Greg Cody. You have to excuse me because it's so hard for me to talk about. This happened last September. Even though I was asleep, they were escorting me to the crisis center. I was not under arrest. I was not resisting. Officer Greg Cody roughed me up pretty badly. I had bruises all over my body. He also groped me inappropriately. I did everything appropriately. I got his badge number. I called Internal Affairs the very next day, and absolutely nothing was done. When the story broke that an officer was out there sexually assaulting mentally ill women, I immediately knew in my gut that it was Officer Greg Cody. I'm glad he's facing the consequences now, but the fact that Internal Affairs never reached out to me until after he was arrested, about a month or so after I had already made my report. Then they tried to cover their asses pretty much after the fact, but I reported the next day and tried to do everything right, but that's pretty much my story.
Thank you, Jasmine. So, you don't have the right to grope a woman because you've been called because of an alleged suicidal call, okay? You don't have the right to rough up a man who's telling you it's unlawful for them to bring a 14-year-old female girl out of the house in her underwear, to interrogate her about the whereabouts of somebody on a incident that she's not even involved in. You don't have those rights, okay? So that aggression, that abuse, that's what we're dealing with right now, all right? So regardless of what's going on with my brother Lavan, who they have under LeVay because of a typo on his birth certificate, regardless of what's going on with him, you don't have the right to run him over, all right? You should let him get some rehabilitation before you take him to jail. If it's so severe that you have to take him to the hospital for him to have surgery before you can take him to jail, he should have more than 2 hours to rehabilitate from the anesthesia, from the surgery itself, to get the antibiotics he was supposed to get. Why isn't he getting the antibiotics? Okay, this is what we want to know, and this is what I'm asking the city of Lincoln. All right, this is what I'm asking the correctional center. This is what I'm asking the Lincoln Police Department. Why does this keep happening? Why does this keep happening not only to my family, but to Zachary Bearhills, rest in peace, or to Micah Taylor, who is locked up right now with a bullet in his neck. He was on his way to a religious ceremony when they pulled him over. He got so afraid that he took up, this was the story, he got so afraid that he took off. He tried to take off in his car, and the officer shot into the car and shot him in the neck. But he was pulled over on a way to a native ceremony. Okay, they didn't find any incriminating things about him, but yet he got shot anyway, and he's in jail anyway. Okay, he's the one suffering right now, even though he wasn't doing anything illegal. My 14-year-old niece would like to say some words as well.
I wasn't planning on talking. I don't know quite what to say, but I will say this. I go to an art school, I go to humanities school, and I am a humanitarian. I feel for people who are not related to me. So when this happened to my own family, I had to come here. I had to be in this. And I feel like as of now, I want to go into psychology. But right now, with the way that this is all going, I can't. I have to do something to make this world better. Because seeing this happen and having this happen to me and my cousins and Lavan, it is infuriating. It is so infuriating. Like this guy, he just called 1011 News, and they said, what does that have to do with me? They said, what does that have to do with me? And I wish I could say something more, but it's just seeing your family have to go through this brutality, and then he still has pension, he's still getting pension, and they're not getting the... I don't trust the justice system, and I'm 15. That's not something that I should be having to worry about. To worry about the justice system and whether I will be treated the same way that my uncles were when I was 15, when I'm 25. It's just, I wish that I'm going to start working towards making the system better, and there's no way you can make this system better. We have to completely get rid of this system and create something new, because that's not the point. The point is they need to be held accountable for their actions and for what there are people suffering everywhere, and it's not even talked about. I'm glad my uncle has a platform and people to talk to about this, and voices, and all of you here supporting this. This is going to be this is big now, but in the future it's going to be so much bigger. And I don't know.
So once again, yes, definitely, yes.
I am so sorry to report that I just talked to the director of Channel 8 News, and he in no way wants to come down here. And he said, well, we're just going to wait until this plays out. So I just told him I used to watch their news channel all the time, and I'm sorry, I'm going to switch to Channel 10, who is sending somebody down apparently. That's the latest on that report.
And that's just the general trend, you know. It's not important if it's native. And that's why we're here, and that's why I appreciate all of you here. And I appreciate you if you can keep putting pressure on the news stations, if you can keep putting pressure on the chief of police, if you can keep putting pressure on the mayor's office. We need them to actually realize that we're not just a silent group that they can abuse, and we're not just a family, my family, that they can just abuse on a regular basis because we're trying to stand up for ourselves. You know, we're not trying to create chaos. What we're trying to do is we're trying to stand up for ourselves. You know, and that's what's important. Did you want to say something? Yeah. Come on, Jane, you can say something.
Thank you. Okay. The reason I decided to come up was because I heard what the news channels had said, and I'll tell you what it has. Huh? Okay. Well, Lincoln better be darn happy to have this guy and people like him, voices of reason in our community. Racism, like it or not, is pervasive. I know it because I find myself frequently catching myself in things that pop into my head that are, I don't, can I believe this? I'll ask, can I believe this? Can I believe that? Well, just because I haven't had to live it doesn't mean others haven't. And I have witnessed it over a period of 72 years right here in this community. It's not everywhere, but not everyone does that, but it happens, and we have to be open and take action when we see it happen. And thank you. Thanks.
So it seems like we have another media source out here now, which is great. Does anybody know where are you from, sir? 1011. Okay, so thank you, 1011, for actually showing up. That's what we want. We don't need a story that's sympathetic for us. We just need a complete story because we have facts on our side, so that helps. Thank you. Like I said, when I filed my civil complaint against the city and against the Lincoln Police Department, I added in there audio recording. I added in their pictures. I added in their documents. It's a 60-page civil complaint that I wrote myself. I had to go on YouTube to figure out how to do it, and then from there I was able to find enough information to go to the law library to look up how to actually write it, and I looked up past cases, and there was a lot of them. That's what the sad part is. There's a lot of them, and they're always settled out of court, and nothing ever comes of it, and the officers continue to get to do what they've been doing. But right now, luckily, the two officers that started this have been forced to resign. But when I was talking to the city attorney, he told me, he said that Gregory Cody was allowed to resign because he had earned his pension. All right? This is someone who's a sexual predator who's going to court right now for being a sexual predator, and who has other women who have stepped forward. One of them here today could say that he had actually sexually assaulted them. Okay? But yet, we're paying his pension right now. As taxpayers, we're all taxpayers here, we're paying his pension right now. So that's how the system is. That's how the system is messed up, and that's the things that need to change, okay? Do I have a target on my back now that I'm standing out here in front of you and standing out here in front of these cameras? It's scary. It's very scary. But if I don't do it, then what happens to my family? All right? What happens to my niece next time they encounter her? What happens to my brother? You know, what happens to everyone else that I love around me? So to me, this isn't something where it's a choice. It's something that I have to do. I have to be up here. You know, every time I hear these stories about, you know, a man getting tased to death or beaten to death or shot in the neck, or a company being raided because they won't pay money to the state, or people dying and nobody caring in White Clay. You know, these stories are so heartbreaking, but they're my community. And if I don't speak up for them, and if you don't stand here with me, what happens? Nothing. It stays the same. So all of us are here together, and all of us are united. And it's not just about natives, but I'm trying to bring attention to the fact that this is happening to my people right now. And I appreciate everyone here that is standing with us and that is bringing attention to what's happening, because it's important. You know, it's important that we get treated like we're part of the system, like we're people that actually have dignity and can be treated with respect. You know, if we do something wrong, yeah, you can arrest us, but treat us with dignity, like the same way you would treat somebody with a different color skin. You know, that's what you really got to pay attention to. It's like, who's treating who like what and why, and where's the natives in the police force? Why don't we have any natives in this police force here? All right, and what are the cameras being used for if not when you run somebody over to be able to document that? That's super important. Where are the cameras when you go inside somebody's house to search for someone, but instead of finding them, all you do is march the family out in a female in her underwear to interrogate about where his whereabouts are? Okay? What's the real story behind that? But with that also, I would like to let everyone know that one of my mentors is here, someone who has been fighting this fight for a long time and who can give a little bit more of detail about what's happening on a broader perspective. Frank Lemire, would you mind coming up and speaking?
Well, listeners, I join Leo in this family in expressing appreciation for you taking time from your lives to come over here to the City Hall to talk about how things could be and how things should be with our families, our extended families, our community. And so I want to say pinagigi to you, for all of you, for coming over here. I also want to share with you, as is our custom, I took care of that Wangshik Dani as we gathered over here, Leo. I put down that tobacco, and I offered up very simple invocation for us. I said that I would like all of us this day to be touched in our hearts and in our minds, and that when we leave here, that we touch others in their hearts and minds, that things would be better for this family, this extended family, for this community. And I asked that perhaps maybe even healing would result in all of you coming together here, and I feel that way. I want to share with you, I've been here too many times, and it reminds me now that when I come here, it is almost, I reflect back over decades being right where we're at right now. I was here when they shot and killed Seth Whiteface, and I came and I joined his family here. I remember seeing his kids, 10, 8, 6, and 4. And he was shot and killed on the streets of Lincoln, Nebraska, because he was intoxicated, and he went to one of the exclusive restaurants, peeked in the window, and made everybody uncomfortable. Police were called, and 3 minutes later he was shot dead, not very far from here. I don't know if anybody has ever come to grips with that. I don't know if that family's gotten over it. I know I certainly have. I remember that. Shortly after that, we came here because they choked Renteria to death, young Hispanic man. And he did not listen and obey a police order. And it was only after he was gone that somebody said he could not understand English. They choked him to death, not very far from here. And that is the grim reality, and that's what this community has to face up to, whether they like it or not. Because I get tired of coming here very recently for Black Lives Matter. It seems like every time we turn around, I've got to come to Lincoln to say, is this what you think of our people, that you would treat us like this? Is this what you think of the Lakota people, that you would shoot Seth Whiteface to death for no reason? Is this what you think of Renteria, that you would choke him to death because he cannot understand you? Is this what you would think of this Yankton family, that you would chase this young man and you would run over him? And I hear this and I try to explain it to myself. I try to understand it, but it is hard for me to understand. I'm told that they expressed to the family that, well, it was an accident. What if they would have killed him? Would that have been an accident? I want you to think about that. It was an accident, they said. What if they would have killed him? How would they explain that? How would they deal with that? And that's what brings me here to Lincoln again. Every time I turn around, I'm in Omaha, Lincoln, White Clay, Sioux City, Sioux Falls. They continue to treat our people this way. I used to say when I come to Nebraska, go to White Clay, deal with the issues in Omaha, deal with the issues here. Very recently in Omaha, I asked the officials, is this what you think of us? That you would taser this man 12 times, and you would hit him 15 times when he's handcuffed. Is this what you think of us? Is this what you think of us, that you would run over this man? That you would decide that you're going to be judge, jury, perhaps even execution. Is this what you think of us? That you would allow the death and the dying and the murders at White Clay unsolved for decades? Is this what you think of us? I'm constantly asking the state, asking state officials, asking city officials, Lincoln, Omaha, Sioux City, other places, is this what you think of us, that you would treat us this way? I have asked that question for decades, and I come to a place, Leo, today. I'm not going to ask that question anymore. Is this what you think of us? Yes, it's exactly what you think of us. And that's sad for the Native community, sad for the minority community, sad for the city of Lincoln. That's exactly what you would think of us, that we are less than human. Perhaps they think that our women, our men, were tough. She can take it. She'll be all right. She can take it. Maybe she's not tough. Maybe she cannot take it. He's tough. He got run over, but he can take it. What if he's not tough? What if he cannot take it? These are the kind of things that we've got to talk about when we come together like this. I came over here today because I want to share something with you. How you're going to get something done, and I've done this my life, is you have to elevate this discussion. Like you're doing, elevate this discussion. And I've said so many times, and I'm tired of it, nothing changes unless somebody is made to feel uncomfortable. I have learned that. I used to be hopeful like all these young people. Nothing changes unless somebody's made to feel uncomfortable. Nothing changes unless you make yourselves uncomfortable. It's hard to get up, hard to come over here, hard to live my life, hard to go home. It's uncomfortable. But I've come to know that that is the only way that things change. The other thing I want to tell you today about this, and I've heard it said in a lot of different ways. Leo mentioned something. The people we're talking about in the police department, the police chief, the mayor, they work in the public trust. Remember that. The public trust. They work for all of you. In Lincoln, you are the bosses. But they have us looking at that differently. You have to take this. No, you don't. So remember that public trust. Remember, remind them that they work for you in the public trust. Make yourselves uncomfortable. Make them uncomfortable. Elevate the discussion. I know this mayor. I've always known him to be a good man. I've not talked with him. I will talk with him before this is done. And I will say, where were you? You should have come out and listened to them. These are your people. They're not mine. Why did you not come out and face them? Where is this chief of police? Where are these city councilmen? Are they here? Are the city council people here at all? Where are you at? We have minority city councilman. Benny, where are you at? Perhaps it's too uncomfortable for a lot of folks to come over here. But I want that question needs to be asked of your city council. Needs to be asked of your police chief. Needs to be asked of the mayor. Where are you at? And you need to continue to elevate this discussion. It's going to be very important. Lastly, I want to tell you something that I think what we've got to do is we've got to elevate that discussion even more than we're doing here. I think that what needs to happen next time you come down the street, next time you all gather here, Leo, you got to march down that street right over there. And you've got to talk to them there. You've got to talk to this governor. I talked to this governor's chief of staff yesterday about the ACF raid in Winnebago. I asked him what is up with that, and I said, we'll talk again, and that's what you have to do. The next time you gather here, you go over there, and you ask tough questions of the chief executives in the state. Why are Native people, why are others being treated like this in the state of Nebraska? Somebody needs to be able to answer that. I would be remiss right here today if I did not also ask, especially all you Native people, where is that commission? Is that Indian commission here? Is anybody from the commission here? I would hope somebody remind him, Leo, remind him. I asked, where were you? Where were you at? Nobody is being responsive to our people in our communities, and they've got to begin to do that. We've got to ask tough questions, even of our own. Not just the community, ask tough questions of our own. Where are you at? Every day across this state something happens. They call, Frank, I thought you would want to know this. And we deal with issues, but now when it comes time where we need to coalesce and come together, they're not here. I wanted to come over there, but something came up. I wanted to come and show support for the Yankton family, but something came up. I wanted to come and elevate the discussion about the police chief, about the city council, about the mayor. I wanted to join you and ask tough questions, but something came up. That's the way with us all the time. And sadly, something will come up with them. And nobody's going to be there to support them. I asked very simply the Native community here to be able to coalesce, to come together. And I came over here, and when I do something, I do it until we get done. And very recently in Omaha, last week, we have undertaken and we battled the city of Omaha. We took the mayor to task. We took the chief of staff. We took the police chief to task. And last week, the city of Omaha held their first mayor's commission meeting for the Native community. We need one here. They asked that because we put tremendous public pressure on them, and that's what you have to do, and you cannot go away. I share all those things with you, and there's one other thing I want to share with you that I think is real important, is that they do not think very much of us, and we cannot discuss that. We cannot even lament that fact. We have to know, and I'm saying this now, they don't think very much of us. They don't think much of you, Leo. They don't think much of us. But that's just the reality. And let us not fool ourselves, and let us not say that you need to try to understand us. They're not going to. And I think that that's where we start, and we just continue until we get change in our community. I wanted to say about those many words to you. I applaud everybody who came out here in the rain. And when we get back to Winnebago, I'm going to talk about what you're doing. We get to Omaha next week to deal with, again, the bear heels killing there. I'm going to tell them that people are coming together across the state. Maybe they all need to come together from White Clay, you know, from Sioux City, from Omaha, from Lincoln. Maybe all of us need to gather and go over there and ask the state of Nebraska what's up with this and demand change. Elevate this discussion. They put this many of you in those council chambers at the next council meeting. I guarantee something would change because you scare me. 2 of you get together, you're kind of scary. 10 of you get together, they call the police. This many of you come together, you might be able to change something. So I want you to share that, and I want you to really understand that, the importance of that. Speak your mind, elevate the discussion, work for change. Leo, I want you just to know that we will do the best we can, and we'll come back and come back and come back as long as we have to until things change here. I will tell you to put the pressure on the mayor, and I will even call him tonight, tomorrow. I want you to, there was somebody said there's a meeting with his police chief. Now somebody had said there's a meeting and we'd like you to go to this meeting. I'm not going to go to a meeting with the police chief. The chief said, oh yeah, perhaps I can squeeze you in. You don't squeeze me in. When there's something that needs to be said, I'm going to say it if it takes all day. But that's how they look at us. Maybe I can squeeze you in. Well, he'll find time sometime, but we'll not meet with him. But if the mayor is not acting on these things, then we'll have to talk with him. And if the police chief is allowing this to happen, then I think what needs to happen is somebody needs to oust this police chief. You know, somebody just needs to say it. Somebody just needs to say the simple truth. If he's not being accessible to this community, say it. If the community is not satisfied with him, somebody needs to say it. If he needs to go, somebody needs to say he needs to go. And when you do say it, said, I don't know, that guy from Winnebago told me that the other day, because I'll tell him the same thing. Anyway, I said, Pina gave you to you, Leo. Stay after it. And I am glad to see that people are beginning to take notice. And do not go away, any of you. And thank you, Pina.
Thank you, Franklin. Thank you all for coming. Thank you all for standing here with us in the rain. I really appreciate it, and I think we have called to action, and we have actually forced the city to hear us. Okay, because like I said, the initial stories that came out were a simple police report or a simple police statement given through the media. Now we're going to have a challenge to the media that they do a more complete story about what happened. Ask why there wasn't any camera footage when they ran my brother over. You know, why did at first they say it was a collision, and then the police chief later says that it was an accidental run over. Okay, so that's not the same thing. Even if you did run him over and it's an accident, why'd you initially say it was a collision? Okay, so you know, there's facts and then there's other facts, and we need to figure out what they all are and put them together and actually have everybody that's in the community be able to evaluate them themselves, not just be told what they want you to believe. So I appreciate you all being here because you have helped make that happen today. All right, and once you leave here today, just know that you have done something to help support my family, but my family is still going to have to deal with this for months and years to come. But we're willing to do that because we can't just sit back and take the abuse and be afraid to speak up and just keep letting it happen. We need that change. And I feel like change is coming. That's why you're all here today. And I appreciate that. And I love you all. And I want to thank you. And I want to greet you as you leave as well, if you don't mind shaking my hand as we go. But I feel like we've accomplished something, and we need to pressure the media to go ahead and do a more complete story, because that's what it's going to take. Not just me speaking up, but all of us together. So thank you. Yes. Told him. She asked, how can we pressure the jail to get him his antibiotics he needs so that it can stop this infection before it becomes rancid and causes him permanent damage? The way we can do that is everybody call the jail, ask to talk to the director or whoever's in charge. Tell them that you want to know why Lavan doesn't have proper rehabilitation and proper medication and proper antibiotics so that his leg doesn't get permanently damaged from being crushed. He's in Lancaster County Jail on West O Street, yes. West O Street, yep. So thank you all, and I'm going to keep working on this, and you can follow me on Facebook under Leo Yankton, and if you have any suggestions for me, these kind of gatherings actually make it to where more ideas and more action can come from this, okay? So any brainstorming, just know that we're trying our best, but we need help. So any ideas you have, any recommendations, please let us know. Thank you.
Anybody left? You've given some good speeches over the years. That was one of my favorite, though. We'll get that. Thank you so much.
We call it mine.
I know, me too. I just want to say hi. How you doing? Good. How you doing?